ignorance. So, Talia, we have some starter questions for you, just to get you warmed up. Are you ready for these hard-hitting questions?
It's just a would you rather.
It sounds good.
Oh, not the sexy voice.
Sounds good. You know what?
Again?
I'm not doing this with you. I'm not.
Okay. Is it me or did it drop a couple of octaves? Go ahead.
Okay, let's start. So our first question is, would you rather wrestle The Rock or Kurt Angle?
The Rock.
Why do you want to wrestle The Rock?
The match would be more entertaining. The Rock is really an entertainer, and these fans, they want entertainment. They don't want actual wrestling.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
No, it's right. It is entertainment at the end of the day. So that's a good point. All right. 1 point for you.
I'm gonna go to the next question. Would you rather be in a cage match or a TLC match? And TLC for the listeners is table, ladder, and chair match.
Oh,
This is some thought.
a TLC match only because you don't necessarily have to climb all the way to the top of the ladder. My fear is falling to my death. Well, one of my fears is falling to my death. So
big mood.
I don't do all that high flying stuff. That was never my thing. So I'm not jumping off of anybody's 30-foot cage.
I hear you. I can't even jump in a kiddie pool.
Oh man. And the last question we have is, would you rather be power bombed or pile drive?
Oh, ooh. Ask me.
Well, I've never taken a power drive. I have been power bombed, so power bomb. I've been on the receiving end of that.
Good answer.
And it's a safer move.
What's the difference?
Um,
Just for research purposes.
A pile driver, if it's done incorrectly, if anything's done incorrectly, you can hurt yourself. But a pile driver, if it's really done incorrectly, it can break your neck.
Yep. It's a neck breaker.
You can break your neck, and you're depending on the person to protect you. As with a power bomb, the power bomb is more so me protecting myself. Once I hit the mat, all the person is doing in a power bomb is they're guiding you down. Now, if you're being power bombed from something else, that's a different story.
like a cage or a ladder.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. But a power bomb, it's more so you protecting yourself as opposed to a power driver where my neck could be broken.
Word.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, yeah. You can't end your career before it even begins. That's not what we want here. Fantastic. All right, let's get into it. Hey everybody, what's good? Welcome to Sophisticated Ignorance, the podcast, the show, the program. Thank you all for coming back. Hope you all are doing well out there. Today we have a guest, a very special guest on our show today. So would you like to introduce yourself, my dear?
It is the leader of the Rockstars. It is your girl, Talia Janette. Hello, everyone.
Wow. Okay. Full introduction.
Hi, leader of Rockstars. Oh.
You know what?
We're going to get into that click later, I'm sure.
Nice to meet you.
Don't do that. Don't do me like that.
Rove is being shy. Rove knows this young lady from who knows how long ago or how back.
When she was a young spring chicken.
Wowzer. Oh baby. I just heard the ding 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 right in the back.
It's okay. I'm okay with being old. Like I told you, I'm ready for that early bird special. I'm red tea for it.
You really got to stop saying that like proudly. You know what I mean?
Why?
Like you say that in confidence to your close friends or to your IG green circle.
I'm-
You don't just say that to the
I
world.
am also speechless right now. So you guys go ahead and continue the conversation because there's a lot of ageism going on. So
Wow. You don't play victim. Don't do that.
Oh, this is going to be a fun episode already. I can just smell it. Can you smell what we're cooking? And the answer is yes.
I see what you
Yes.
did. I see what you did there.
It's going to be a lot of puns. You stay tuned.
Oh,
But yeah, so today we have Talia on the show, and as you guys have probably guessed already, you are a professional amateur wrestler. Yeah, is that the
I like
proper
that.
term?
I like that.
I am. I like to say I'm a semi-retired pro wrestler, early pro wrestler, because I didn't fully. You know, we'll get into that. I just like to say I'm
Okay, yeah.
semi-retired right now. We'll get into that. though.
Semi-retired. Okay, semi-retired professional.
We'll see the progression
Rest-
in the episode. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. And I guess we'll talk about the semi-retired part. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
But yes, we invited you on the show. We're going to get to know a little bit about you, give us some insight in that wrestling industry that you're in, and just pick your brain about a whole bunch of other things about wrestling and get your insights and thoughts. So thank you for joining us today. Man, where do we begin? Where do we begin? I mean, like for me, I personally have not watched wrestling in a long time. The last thing about wrestling for me was watching with my brother and cousin, as we would either like play wrestle in my bedroom, or my brother and my cousin, they had like a little amateur wrestling moment a couple years ago. And as being the younger brother, every time there'd be a wrestling move on TV, I would definitely be the test dummy on that one. So there was there were many days of, yo, let me try something real quick, or yo, let me do this. And I would either be 2 toes up in the air or being flung around somehow. And that was pretty much my childhood. But for you, Talia, give us a little insight about how you got into wrestling, and like what was that like?
Well, I was one of those kids. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so that was your your Stone Colds, your Rocks, your D Generation X, that group of people. And I was always the girl that I hung out with the guys. So similar to you, I was always the girl like, let me choke slam you. Let's do.
This was at school?
Yeah, we were wild.
In high school, yeah.
No, this grade school. What? Grade school. Shout out to 335. Okay. Shout out to everybody that went to Revel T Woods. Yeah, and I feel my dad was the one who got me started. Like he allowed me to watch wrestling. So like I would watch Sunday Night Heat. Like this is when, throwback. The Sunday Night Heat when SmackDown used to come on Channel 9 on Thursdays and all of that. So I just grew up watching it, and I've always wanted to do it. But things happen, like you get drawn to other things. Like I played basketball all throughout school. So I never knew like you had to go to school to learn how to wrestle. Like I thought you just did it, type of situation. Like, oh, like I'm gonna just go to what was it that they had? I think it was OVW. That was their training facility originally. So I'm like, oh, you just go there, sign up, and you just wrestle. But lo and behold, like it's a whole like training you have to go through in order to really get into it, unless you're what they call a backyarder, which is something completely wild. And then after I graduated with my bachelor's, I was like, I had the time to do it, and I found somewhere, and then that's how I got started.
Okay, when did wrestling become a dream for you instead of like, or was it a hobby turned into a dream, or is it a dream that's a hobby?
I would say a little bit of both. Wrestling was just always my personal escape. Like that was my thing. Like I always come home, like make sure I made time to watch wrestling no matter what I was doing. Like I gotta watch Raw, I gotta watch NXT, I gotta watch Impact, I gotta watch this, gotta watch that. So I always made the time to watch it. And I'm like, well, now's the time. Let me see if I can actually do it. And I had just happened to ask around on Facebook one day. Like I think I had made a post asking, are there any schools in New York? And I had interviewed at three, well, two and a half, because one school, the trainer wasn't there. So I interviewed technically at two schools and then went from there.
Where did you go to school for wrestling?
So initially, the three schools that I interviewed at, in one school, I don't really like to give them a lot of publicity, but I will make sure I give you guys the insight, and then this will probably be the last time I ever talk about this school again.
Word.
So initially, I had interviewed at WUW, which is Johnny Rod's Hall of Famer Johnny Rod's school in Brooklyn. Johnny Rod's talked me to death for 3 hours about absolutely nothing. I respect the man, but he talked me to death for 3 hours about the Samoans, and that was it. This man has a deep, deep, deep rooted passion about the Samoans, and I was just
is he Samoan?
No, Johnny Rod's, I believe, is
Okay.
Puerto Rican.
Not to be confused.
And then after I left Johnny Rod's, the interview with him, which I mean was pretty cool. Like I said, he's a very cool guy. I went to House of Glory in Queens, and I waited for Brian, who was the one of the trainers next to Amazing Red, and I'll go back to that. Brian never showed up, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna leave because I was waiting almost an hour and a half. I'm like, I'm gonna leave. I have things to do, have work to tend to. And then I ended up going to Staten Island, and I found a school that was about 40 minutes past where I went to college at, which was very interesting. And I ended up at that school. Now,
why do you think you had to go all the way to Staten Island to find like your core?
I don't think it was necessarily to quote unquote find my core. It was the price was slightly more affordable because you do have to pay a tuition like any school you go to. You have to pay a tuition or fee. And it was literally like when I tell you it was literally behind my college, I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at. I know how to get there. The trainer was there. It worked itself out. So that's how I ended up out there for that time being.
Gotcha.
But
Isn't that ironic?
y'all want the tea. That's what y'all want. Do y'all want the tea?
I don't even know. I don't even know what.
We want you to say what your tea is. If it's Diet Pepsi, if it's Lipton, if it's Earl Grey, whatever it is, it's fine.
All right, you know what? What is
it that we should know?
What is your next question? And then we'll get into that. Because the next question may lead into like the whole journey from school to school. Because I actually attended 2 schools in my very short wrestling career.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, let's just start with, I guess, the first school you attended. We just, we're just curious about like, what was the beginning process like? Like, how was training? Like, what was the beginning steps there for you?
Okay, so after I had the initial, interview, I think I went back the following week for my first day of training, and I was a nervous wreck. You don't know what you're about to get into. You don't know what you're about to put your body through. And I believe my first night, it was only, I think it was 3 other girls there. Yeah, I think at that time I was one of 4 girls there out of maybe 15, 20 students at the time. 4 of us were girls.
Got you.
And I for one, I always say I like to wrestle guys because the guys will, they don't go easy on you. Like, because the men are always trying to prove a point. So it's like, okay, Funny enough, trying to keep up with everybody, I think my first and my second night I actually pulled my groin trying
Yikes.
to, yeah, trying to keep up with them during the drill. So it was a rough first week, but I survived it. Just trying to learn how to fall properly. I think that was my biggest issue, was learning how to fall maybe the first 3 weeks, and it took a guy barreling through me to teach me how to fall properly. Like they try to
Ooh.
tell you, hold the rope and just let go and fall back, or they'll have somebody trip you. It took a guy going back and forth on the ropes, and then he just ran into me, and I learned how to
How
fall
big are
back.
these guys?
Um, I mean, most of the guys were my size. I think we had a few guys that might have been a little bit bigger. To let Johnny Rods tell it, I'm quote unquote a very big girl. So, and I thought he was trying to call me fat, but he meant height wise. Yeah, I was very offended when he
You're
said
about to
that.
square up on him.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you're a very big girl," and I'm like, "Did he just call me fat?" But
Wow.
he
Mm.
meant height wise. And then
Yes.
So, so
the
these
three,
guys are like 6 foot, 300 pounds, or what? Like,
I wouldn't say 300 pounds. 300 pounds is pushing it, but like everybody was different size. Like the guys that I still hang out with till this day are like my size, just more muscular. Um,
Mhm.
one of my like two of my trainers, actually, there was three trainers at that school. Two of them were bigger than me. The other one, who made my life a miserable hell, was a short, stubby, fat guy. And I had height over him as opposed to size. So yeah, I just had
Napoleon complex.
probably he has a
More
lot
than
of
likely.
issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep, yep.
yeah, so I was at this particular school for a year, give or take,
Okay.
about a year, and I got put in a stable. For those who don't know, it's pretty much just a group. And I was
Mhm.
initially a manager because I wasn't, like it takes time for them to figure out who your first match will be against. Are you ready to be in a match in front of a crowd? So I was doing a lot of studio tapings that we would have on the weekends for like our family and friends before we had
Gotcha.
massive crowds.
Mhm.
And I think at this particular promotion I had three or three or four actual matches in front of, like, on a show. And we had one day we had a studio taping, and I had a match against my tag partner at the time. Shout out to TK.
Ooh.
I had a match with him, and I thought the match went fine. The other
Was-
wrestlers in the back thought the match went fine. My trainer, he had a fit. When I tell y'all, he ripped this match on the internet, he ripped it on a radio interview, like
What?
completely trashed the match. And it was crazy because our other trainer was the one who approved this match. He
Fascinating.
approved this match. The head trainer, he lost his mind on us. And
Is that
at,
something that usually happens?
no, I personally feel this particular trainer, he just really, he had it out for me, I feel, for a number of reasons. And I just, because I was confused. When I tell y'all, I don't know.
Okay. Keep it light. We don't got insurance or lawyer fees, so keep it light.
What?
He just had it out for me, and ended up, my partner left the school, I left the school. The trainer likes to say he kicked us out. We left. I never went back. But
Wowzer.
unfortunately, it did, and this is like just the dark side of wrestling when you're getting bashed. Like, people don't realize how hard it is to be, one, to be black in wrestling, and then two, to be black and be a woman in wrestling.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's really rough. So um this is why I don't like to give that particular school a lot of shine. So I ended up leaving, and then I went to House of Glory, which is the second school I interviewed at. And I tell people all the time, Red saved my life. I love Red to death. Um I have nothing but good to say about that man. Like,
Mm.
Amazing Red really saved me from myself and took me out of a really dark place I was in. And he, when I tell you, motivated me, just everything. Red was just like, literally, he is amazing. Like, that's no pun intended. He is really, really dope. Like, that man deserves all his flowers while he is still here.
Word. That's what's up. And see, it's funny because, as far as I know, I mean, most of us, who watch wrestling or are a part of that, you see the drama happen, on stage or in the ring. And that's obviously, it's exaggerated at best. I'm pretty sure there's some real beefs out there, but for the most part, it's exaggerated for the audience. But you are really going through some like behind the scenes, wild, unscripted shit that, most people wouldn't even imagine. And yeah, no, I'm happy that you were able to find a school that at least accepted you. And yes, a Black woman in wrestling, is definitely, in the sense of respect and all that stuff, is definitely at the bottom of the list. But I'm glad that you were able to kind of navigate that for the most part and kind of make your path in a way. So I think we all kind of want to know. So that match that you described before, was that your first match, or what would you consider like your first match, and how did that go?
So my very first match on a show was against a 13-year, I think Chris was 13 years into the business. And I felt it was an okay match. Like he did his best to guide me with me not really knowing what I was doing. I like to say Chris gave me this DDT that changed my life. Like no, like, and it's funny because I have a picture of me when he hooked me and threw me into the mat, and I'm just like, oh my God, like my face just ate canvas. So
His face is back and
it was just
I'm like, ooh,
it was just all canvas.
Do you know what a DDT is? I'm sorry, real quick. Robbie, do you know what a DDT is? It's not hot. I'm telling you right now.
It's not.
I think that you dropping it like it's hot. Yeah.
I just ate my face just went straight to mat. That's what it was.
Well, explain what a DDT is, because actually, I'm not the only person. Last time I watched wrestling, Shane McMahon was getting hung off the side rails. And
Shane McMahon is always trying to kill himself, bro. At that point, pretty much, you're either your neck is being hooked, and depending on the person giving it, they're either hooking your neck or they're hooking both of your arms. I unfortunately was on the end of a double arm hooked DDT.
Oh gosh, the worst kind.
So
sounds like you experienced that.
A lot of wrestling, what people don't realize is that people like to say it's fake, and that aggravates my soul. It touches a different nerve in me because it's not fake. I can't fake 2 concussions. I can't fake pulling my groin. I can't fake tearing a calf muscle. Like, you can't fake a lot of things. The only thing that's fake is the outcome of the matches. And maybe every now and then, like, if you're a really good wrestler, like, this wasn't a skill that I had, but I've worked with a lot of people where they don't have to go over the match. They do what's called calling it on the fly. Like, they can just get in the ring and just go.
Right.
Me, I was one of those people. I'm like, I need to know what we're doing here, what's this part, what's that part, and does it make sense? That's the person I was in the ring. But you have, like, I've worked with so many guys where they were just like, we're just going to get in the ring and do this. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just go.
Right, have fun. Yeah.
Pretty much, like, but again, like that came with time. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to like really learn that skill, unfortunately. So that's how that works.
Gosh, and you still went back after your first match?
Whew. Yeah, I wrestled for 2.5 years. So I did, fortunately enough, I got to do some WWE stuff. That is one thing I can say. In that very short-lived time, I got to the mountaintop that everybody aspires to get to. And it was cool. Like, I had 3 days with them. Most of it was spent in catering, which is what a lot of people don't realize. Like when you get signed to WWE, people spend so much time in catering that when they're not on TV, like the people you don't see on TV regularly, they're sitting in catering.
Catering
So
is we're not talking.
can you
Is it
briefly
food catering?
yeah.
yes,
Can you
it's
briefly
so it's
describe what
basically
catering is?
it's an area backstage. It's all the food. It has a TV so you can watch the matches as they're happening.
Hmm.
So we spent a lot of time there, and I also spent a lot of time like in the area that they call Gorilla. That's where you pretty much right before you go onto the main ramp. That's where like production is. So I stood like in that area for a while. Like if I wasn't sitting down eating, I'm like, oh, and they, they didn't give any restrictions. Like they didn't tell us we couldn't be back there. So it was cool to like watch the behind the scenes stuff. I did get to, what did I do for that? So the Monday night that I was there, I got to do the conga line with No Way Jose when he was still signed. The SmackDown show, I had a dark match, and that's partially why I stopped wrestling. We had a triple threat match, and I received a suplex, which is pretty much the girl picked me up, she threw me, and my left side went numb.
Oh no.
Yeah. And she's like, Talia, move out the way. I'm like, girl, I can't. You got to roll me out the way because I can't feel my left side.
Mm.
And then the pay-per-view, I was a seat filler during, oh my God, what match was it? This is when Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman were feuding.
Ah,
I was
yes,
a,
I know those
I was,
names.
I was a seat filler for that match. Just when you have matches where the wrestlers are going into the crowd and like say they need to grab a fan or they need to get somewhere and they don't want actual,
People getting
real
hurt.
people there. Yeah, like I think Bobby had grabbed one of the seat fillers and he like kind of tossed him down the stairs.
Mm.
Like it was hilarious the way he grabbed him, and like again the pictures from the guy's face and everything from like his reaction from being thrown was classic. So I did that. So like it was a really dope 3 days, but I tell people it's not really the hype you would think it is. Like unless you're a top person in WWE and you're constantly on TV, you're sitting in the back, kind of really just hanging out at that point. So I think the indie scene is a little bit more fun than WWE is to me
Right,
personally.
for sure. I get that because I mean, especially with these bigger corporations, there's just a lot going on, stuff like that. With the indie ones, you can interact with the crowd more. There's a little
Hmm.
bit more
And you have more creative
participation.
freedom too. Yeah, you definitely have a lot more
Exactly.
creative freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely much more creative freedom. As I said, when my brother and my cousin was doing it, like they went to a wrestling school out in New Jersey, and I remember that we would take the train out. I watched them kind of like do their thing, and I just remember like the matches were so energetic because once again it was a smaller crowd, and they had the freedom to kind of like be their own characters and make up their own thing and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It wasn't someone telling you like, all right, this is your stick, this is what you got to do, this is what it is. So yeah, I totally agree with you in that the indie way.
But in regards to that, jumping in, even though I'm not a wrestler per se, I feel as though if I wanted to get into wrestling, I'm the type of person where you have to tell me what I need to do. So maybe some people like that. I know a lot of wrestlers want their own voice, but sometimes when you see the ones that quote unquote simp and just go with the flow, with the money flow, and maybe they just like being told what your script is, what are you supposed to do, how you're going to lose this match, how you're going to win this match, how many times you have to fall before you even get a promo or opener into the ramp for the next you know stage. I don't know.
Okay, so no, so again with WWE, I don't know how it works for like, and it's sad because I have a lot of friends on that work for AEW, and I should know this, but as far as WWE goes, they have what are called agents and producers that pretty much say if Sasha Banks and Natalia have a match, like those are the first two names that came to mind. I don't know. I mean, I love Sasha Banks, but I don't know why Natalia came to mind. if they have a match, you have, say, Devon Dudley, who's a producer backstage.
Mm.
He tells them pretty much, okay, this is who's going to win in this match. This is the time limit. This is what y'all need to do in this match. This is the parts that y'all need to get over. Everything else, it falls on the wrestlers, like what moves we're going to do, how we're going to do this, and how we're going to get to this point.
Right.
On the indie scene, it's completely different. It's just up to you and the person you're wrestling to figure out everything. Like, all they're going to tell you is, okay, this person is going to win. That's it. They're not telling you, and you have 8 minutes. That's it. You're just getting the person that's winning and the time limit. They're not telling you what you need to do in your match. So
Yeah.
again, for me, like when I started like going to other states to wrestle, the stable that I was in, one of the guys, like, he would be on the same shows. I would have him pretty much agent my matches and tell me, okay, I'm like, bro, like, what do you think we should do in this match? Like, my last match, thank God for him, because it was going to be a mess had he not really, helped and told us like what would make sense here, what to do here, how we should do this, and it worked out, thankfully. Like, just from the tips that he gave us, it worked out. So again, on the indie scene, you got way more creative freedom, but sometimes the creative freedom makes no sense in certain matches.
So loosely translated, Indies more Gemini and WWE is more Virgo because it's very structured. Got it.
Wow.
How did
said it,
you
not me.
how
Not
did
me.
you bring the stars into this? I don't understand.
I mean, I don't totally necessarily disagree about her Gemini comment, but that's another story for another day.
Don't support this.
Because it makes
Don't egg
sense.
her on.
And it makes
Please
sense
don't.
for the listeners
I mean,
who are listening because they can
I'm
get
also
it.
an Earth. I'm
They
an
can
Earth sign
relate.
too. I'm totally an Earth sign, and the structure is
The
very
structure
necessary
is
for an Earth sign.
important. Yes.
Any
The
Earth sign structure is very important.
is important.
It just makes sense.
Just having things all over the place is something definitely Gemini-ish, but I'm not even going there. I just wanted something that the audience could relate to, and I know a ton of people would get it for sure.
Gotcha. Every time we have an opportunity to sneak in a sign, Rovie's
whatever.
Right there.
You have to.
Whatever. Okay, so my question is, why do you think shows like Total Divas showcase more reality versus wrestling when it comes to women wrestlers?
For the record, I hate Total Divas.
Okay, it's recorded. This is recording.
Just for the record, I hated that show. But see, shows like that, again, being a woman wrestler, unfortunately, you're not going to be looked at off the bat for your wrestling skills. You could be the greatest. You could be a freaking Lufisto, a Jordan Grace, a Mercedes Martinez. They're not looking at you off the rip for your skills. As much as you want to be respected for it, they are going to look at you for your looks first and your skills after. And and thankfully, with the times we're in now, the wrestling is looked at a little bit more than what you look like. But that Total Divas era nonsense, that whole section of time, that was a whole look thing. Like when WWE was just hiring models just to wrestle at one point.
Ooh, is that what it is?
No, yeah, for real.
That's what Sable was a model. Kelly was a model.
The long legs.
Maurice,
You know what I'm talking about.
Stacy Keebler was a model. Maurice started off as a model. A lot of
you can't say Chyna's a model.
Chyna did not start off as a model. Chyna was a legit bodybuilder. Chyna was a legit bodybuilder and was trained by Killer Kowalski. So,
and she was wrestling overseas.
I'm trying to see if she's gonna fall for the trap.
Nah,
the trap.
No, so it was just like it was funny because there was a documentary about Luna, and it was quoted that she was told by Vince McMahon himself when she wrestled Sable, if she messed up Sable's face in any way, she was going to be fired.
Wow.
So again, you're looked at first, how you look, how skimpy your gear is, and then maybe if you can wrestle.
Mm.
So that's like just with the whole like, and don't get me wrong, like, you have people on Total Diva like your Naomi's that can actually wrestle, Natalia
Love
who can
her.
actually wrestle.
What about Eva?
Next question.
Ooh!
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Next question.
There's that. That's an answer. Next question is an answer. Let that record reflect. All right. Well,
Because I'm not doing this with Vern today. I'm not. I refuse to do this with her.
My professional hat on and everything.
professional or childish? Which one?
A little bit of both.
I feel like it's a lot of team up going on, so I'm just
It's a
gonna
2-on-1.
The handicap match.
definitely feeling like Chris Jericho
Fight.
out here.
Fight back,
Yikes.
Vern. Fight back.
Fight back. Word. Oh, baby. Speaking of fighting back, you know, when it comes to you know, the things that you've learned in the ring and the things that you've done, what would you say is like your most difficult thing that you had to learn, you know, while you were training, or just in general? Like, what was the more difficult things?
Wow. I would say taking criticism. I mean, that's me personally. I feel if the criticism isn't very constructive, it's bothersome to me. Like, it's one thing to tell me, okay, your match was bad. Here's what we have to fix. But like I said, my previous trainer, like he would tell me, he was like, your match sucked. And I'm like, whoa, bro, you're supposed to be a teacher. Like, tell me what was wrong with the match instead of just going off. So like I realized like I had to stop being like it definitely desensitized me a lot, which it was good in a sense, but it was bad in hindsight because it made me very desensitized to life.
Wow. Because you
Yeah,
kind of you
Desensitized to
translated it
life.
out the ring.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So it was just like, and again, I was teaching for 10 years, so it was just like I would just be like get criticized at work, and I'm like, bro, shut up, like what? So I think that was the hardest thing. Like people be like, oh, you don't think the physical aspect of it was hard? I'm like, the physicality of wrestling is hard in itself, especially with me because I'm asthmatic, so my cardio was nowhere where it needed to be. But I'm like, as far as being like the tossed around, like once you learn how to fall and you know what that pain feels like, you're like, all right, you block that out. Like, okay, I know this is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for a little bit. I'm gonna be in pain when I wake up in the morning, but I'll get over it. But like the criticism, like people online are so mean. Like I would read
Yeah.
YouTube comments and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like,
Yep.
so like you just
Yeah.
learn how to just you develop tough skin. That was the biggest thing I had to learn.
Well, not people clotheslining your confidence out
Yeah,
here.
heavy pile driving your confidence. Like, damn, bro. You're working
Yikes.
stiff, bro. You're working real stiff.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad you were able to overcome the haters, because there's haters in every corner, pun intended.
Yeah, just have to.
Rove, do you have another question for our superstar over here?
Yeah, I do. Let me know, how did you think of your wrestling name? That's a good one.
Oh Lord.
Yes, what is
Okay.
your wrestling name?
My wrestling name is Talia Janette.
Okay, what's your wrestling name? For a girl, come on.
No, that is.
I'm joking.
Ver-
It's like, is that your
How did you
legal
come
first
across
name?
it? Yeah.
Vern knows my government name. Okay, so the first school I was at, they didn't the trainer. I was just going to use, so I'm in a sorority. Vern and I are in the same sorority. I was going to use my sorority name, which is Tsunami. And the trainer didn't like it for whatever reason.
Boo.
Yeah, he again, like I say, he was like the biggest hater ever. He didn't like that. So he told me, he's like, oh, figure out a different name. So the three guys that I was managing at that school, we literally sat down with a list of names, and one of the guys I managed, our gimmick was we were siblings. So his name was TK Luther. So we were trying to find something to kind of play with that. So initially, my initial name was Elizabeth Janette. I personally didn't like Elizabeth. I was like, yeah, I was, and we ran with it for like a little bit. And I'm like, bro, I don't like the way that sounds. It doesn't work. I'm like, TK, EJ, I don't like it. We got to figure something else out. So we went back to this list of names, and the Jeanette part stuck. So I'm like, I like the Jeanette part. We just got to figure out a different name for the first part. So we went through Elizabeth.
Jeanette is giving Jersey vibes. Sorry to interject.
Not Jersey. Not Jersey. So we went through Elizabeth, Ebony, Mahogany. It was probably about, yeah, it was like 20 names on this list. I have no clue. Like, I think Talia might have been at the bottom of this list. And I said, bro, how about we just use this Talia name? So it'll be TK and TJ. And it just stuck. And then the only gripe that I had was that I had like a few ring announcers that would not pronounce my shit right. Like they would call me Talia. I'm like, bro, that's not how I told you how that's pronounced.
Yikes.
That's not how it's pronounced. It's Talia. Very simple and to the point. So that, like, it was just literally us just brainstorming it. Like, it was no real thought process behind it. We just kind of tried to pick what sounded good behind it, and it's stuck.
Okay.
Vixen, what would your wrestling name be?
That's a good question. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for that. When I was a kid, when I was younger, I used to, when I was doing like bedroom wrestling with my cousin and brother.
Bedroom wrestling,
not swanton bombing off the bed.
Definitely swanton bombing off the bunk bed. Yes, big vibes. I'm surprised we didn't get more hurt back then. I used to just take the first letter of my name and just slap it on a popular wrestler. And that was how I generated a name. It was really bad. I wasn't creative back then. So I wouldn't even know what my wrestling name would be. But we all know Rove's wrestling name.
Well, how do you know? What is it?
Right, what is it?
Rovie Rude, baby.
I'm weak.
You're weak because it's good.
No, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Oh my God.
Boy. Oh man.
I like spicy tigress.
Oh God.
That's a bit complicated. All right.
Everything got to be spicy with her.
Spicy tigress. That sounds like a superhero name, but doesn't matter. Let's just move on. But real quick, Talia. So, just curious to know. You mentioned, early in the episode about, being a Black woman in the industry and the business. So, for you, do you feel that, when you were wrestling and you did have a crowd, do you feel like you kind of inspired anyone in the crowd or changed people's perceptions about you, or I guess just Black women in wrestling in general in the crowd? Like, how do you feel like you've made an impact?
My thing was always to kind of not fall into the stereotypical Black character, which I feel that's what the first school was trying to make me out to be. Once because my first match I debuted as a babyface, which is a quote unquote good guy, and then I got put with a heel stable, so I turned heel and was a bad guy.
Wow.
And that's always easy. Being a bad guy, you don't have to do much.
Just be yourself. No.
Yeah, pretty much, just on 1,000. I do recall we had a birthday party show, and the the one thing it's crazy because I have the picture on my wall somewhere. It's like I have a ton of pictures on my wall, but I have a picture of this little girl, this little Black girl, and she came up to me and she goes, I want to do what you're doing. How can I be like you? And that was probably like just as a teacher, that meant more to me than being a wrestler because that's how I felt growing up looking at Jackie, looking at Jazz. I'm like, I didn't have a lot of girls who looked like me growing up while I was wrestling, but like now they got so many girls. You got Jade, you got Naomi, you got Sasha, you got Bianca, you got Tasha Steele. Like right now, there are 5, 6 Black women who have main title belts right now.
Gotcha.
So that's a huge deal. And like at some point, I feel they do try to kind of like, especially if you're playing a bad guy, they try to make you fall into the stereotypical ghetto Black girl type of gimmick. And it's like, bro, you don't have to fall into that to be a heel. Like you can be like how like Jazz was and Jazz still is. Jazz, Auntie Jazz, that's what I call her. Auntie Jazz, when I tell you she just be willing to beat everybody ass, like she's dope. Like I repped one of her last matches. She's so dope in real life. Like, and it's crazy because when you meet these women behind the scenes, they're like, yo, like your gimmick and who you are in real life don't match at all. But like
yeah.
You gotta be a whole actor.
Auntie Jazz is she's the real deal though. She's the definitely the real deal. So yeah, I think that was probably like one of the biggest moments for me was definitely when that little girl came up to me and said she wanted to be like me.
That's very sweet. You didn't mention Cameron at all.
What?
Next question, please.
I said she didn't mention Cameron, and if those listeners know who Cameron is in the wrestling space, but we didn't get a mention of her. Any
next question?
I think that was the answer. The answer was next question. I think
I've already know who she don't and don't like. All right, got it.
In the great words of she said what she said.
Period.
Okay, and on that, let's get up with our last question. This is one of my personal favorites.
Oh boy.
We're listening.
Just take it, okay? What is your finishing move, and would you use it in the bedroom?
Hey, yo, whoa.
Oh yes, we went there. Oh yes.
Wow.
The people want to know.
No, they don't.
And Rovie's the people, by the way. But carry on.
So throw me under the bus.
Again, because my wrestling style, like there's various styles of wrestling. My style of wrestling, I was more of a brawler. So my finishing move was very simple.
Bedroom bully.
What?
You know what?
Please continue.
I can't. My finishing move was the classic DDT.
All right.
I was initially, before I got injured, I was working on a tornado suplex DDT. A tornado suplex.
Oh sure.
That's what I was working on, and it looked dope. But unfortunately, I never got to use it on anyone because a lot of the girls that I was
outside or inside the bedroom.
Outside, Raverne. Goodness gracious.
Behave.
The government. Ooh.
A lot of girls that I would work were smaller than me and couldn't properly base me for it. Again, I'm 5'9", so again, according to Johnny Ross, that's very big for a female wrestler. So a lot of girls couldn't base me for it, so I just never got to use it. So I just stuck with my DDT. My signature was a Northern Light suplex. My bridge was sick, and I think that's partially why my neck is also messed up because all my suplexes ended in a neck bridge.
Yeah.
Would I DDT someone in the bedroom? I don't know if he's into that. Sure, if that's what he likes. I don't judge.
Vixen, you have a finishing move?
I do not have a finishing move.
That's not where I thought that
certainly-
question was going.
Me neither.
And would you
I
use it in the bedroom?
I don't have a finishing move.
Are
Not
you
one that
being
I'm going to.
coy?
I'm not being
He
coy.
is.
I just
I feel
don't have
he
a
is.
finishing move. You know what I mean? Like, what is a finish? Like, I don't have a finisher move. My bones crack. I am,
My joints are aching.
any type of finishing move will finish me.
Period.
I
That's
certainly
how I feel too now. How I feel now too.
gotta be very careful. So yes, no finishing move for me. But speaking of finishers, thank you, Talia. This was fun. This was a good conversation.
You didn't ask me what mine was.
We all know
Lord.
what yours is.
What is it?
No, the world really wants to know because I don't know.
My
should be good.
finishing move
Oh boy.
is the stink face.
All right,
Yep,
and on that
sounds
note,
accurate. That sounds about accurate. That takes people out every single time. I've been on the receiving end of the stink face, and let me tell you, that finisher, no one can do it. Okay,
wow. You know
that
what?
is 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding.
Ding ding,
All
right.
First of all, people do the stink face all the time. So
But that is your special move. Okay, no one can do it like you, Ro. Believe me.
no, Rashiki can, but
Wowzer.
that is
or Rakishi.
Rakishi.
Definitely Rakishi.
You know him.
Yep.
Well, I know how to do it. I don't know how to say it, but I know how to do it. How about that? And everybody be doing it.
You know how to do
Talia.
the Rakishi finisher move where you
just
someone's
said that it's been done to you. You literally just said that.
The stink face is different than the actual move.
Okay.
All right.
I feel
And
like this whole episode I've been double teamed this whole episode. I was
Fight
just trying to have
back.
a nice conversation.
Fight back.
I'm a
Rovie,
lover,
fight
not
back.
a fighter. I'm not into wrestling.
Fight back.
I'm a lover. Sorry.
all right.
I didn't practice in the bedroom wrestling when I was younger, like some people.
Who are you referring to?
I'm just saying. So, as we wrap up, Talia.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Since we got to know you a little bit better now, you're going to give us 2 truths and a lie, and Vixen and I will decide which is the lie, and the winner gets to pick what the loser wears for next week's episode.
Oh, damn.
Isn't that cheeky?
That's not fair. You've known me for how many years? That's really not fair to him.
It's not. It's a big disadvantage. But
you
know
gotta
what?
be creative. And guess what? I'm 1-0 now. 1-0.
I see. All right. Well.
Damn, 2 truths and a lie. Okay, give me a second. That's going to be hard.
1,000.
Okay. I've been scuba diving. I've met boys to men. And what you said, 2 truths and a lie?
Yes.
And I've been mountain climbing in Denver before.
That's a bit too specific.
You said I've been too specific?
No. The mountain climbing endeavor is a bit specific. I'm gonna say, what was the first one again?
I've been scuba
You
diving.
need to remember. Oh,
wow.
you told them?
Wow. No, that's not the answer. I'm just asking what it was.
So scuba diving, I've met boys to men, and I've been mountain climbing in Denver.
You didn't let me pick. He was supposed to pick.
No one chose yet.
Yeah, nobody. Okay.
She's just saying the choices again.
Wow, you being that defensiveness.
No, you go first. Go on.
I'm not. No, it's your turn. Nope, I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh my gosh.
Like the whole episode.
I'm going to say the boys to men is the lie.
Okay. Revern.
I'm going to agree with my co-host.
That's a first.
I just wanted to
look at
be on
y'all.
the same playing field.
So y'all think I'm lying about Boys to Men?
I mean,
Yes.
All right, final answer. Survey says
Talk about dragging this.
the scuba diving was a lie. I don't do the ocean.
I know you don't do that.
wow.
But I wanted to be fair with him.
I didn't want to assume
That's
that
why I
you
got
were like a
mad.
typical black
That's why I got
person.
mad when you
know
said it.
what
I
mean?
was like,
I didn't want to
you know
assume.
what? I ain't gonna say nothing on Facebook that I've seen.
I think
but
I met Boys to Men, I think the same year I met Vern. Or it might have been the year before.
Look at
No,
that.
it was the year I met.
So
It was the year I met Vern.
I wouldn't have known that.
There it is.
That's fine.
Funny enough,
Well, we both lost. High five.
Funny enough, I think it was when we
Boom.
were coming to Binghamton. That was the day we met Boys to Men, the day we came to Binghamton. And we chased them into Trump International Hotel.
What a time to be alive.
Wow. Okay. That's
Right.
What a time to be alive.
Right. Wow. All right. All right. Well, Talia, thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences and letting us know what the insight is in regards to wrestling and, you know, going through your struggles and having an opportunity to let us know what the real tea is and just letting us into your life a little bit. And we appreciate you here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Let the
You are
audience
welcome.
know where we can find you. Drop all your handles. Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter is Talia Janette 01, all one word, no spaces. My YouTube is Talia Janette. My Snapchat is Ace of Havoc 01. My Facebook is Talia Janette. I think that's it. My TikTok is Talia Janette 01.
The Snapchat, I'm assuming you've had that for a long time.
Yeah, that Snapchat is ancient.
It's giving MySpace, but yes, we
that was judgment. Oh, that was
no
judgment.
No judgment.
That hurt.
No shade. That was not my finisher move.
It was. I'm tapping out.
Wow.
That was judgment.
No, I just like the. I think me and Rolf heard the name and was like, oh, that's
no,
unique.
I've heard that name before.
Okay.
I've heard that name before. It was you. I was just hyping up your reaction.
I see.
See, we are in sync. We're in sync.
What a good co-host.
Look at that.
Thank you for that. I feel seen. Well, yes. Thank you again, Talia, for joining us. If you want to see me and Rovie wrestle week by week, you could watch us and listen on our podcast platforms.
It's the secondhand embarrassment.
SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can check us out on social media, this podcast social media, which is on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok as well. You can also catch me and Rovie on our respective social media platforms as well. And yeah, make sure to, check us out on YouTube as well. Please subscribe and watch all these episodes as we react and respond with our faces. And if you have any questions for us, or if you're interested in being a guest on the show, please email us at sophigpodcast@gmail.com.
Gang, gang.
Oh,
yes.
All right.
Gang indeed. And for those out there who are interested in wrestling, make sure that you wrestle your demons before you get into the ring.
Not the demons. That's the best place to exercise them, actually.
There it is.
This message has been approved by Sophisticated Ignorance.
And there's that. Oh man. So thank you all again for joining us, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Rovie.
Bye.